as we all have understood that editing is redefining time on screen. Now with that comes the challenge of creating this illusion that what you're seeing is happening in real time. There are no jerks while watching a certain story, so that you're not disturbed, you're not distracted even for a second. So in that we follow this principle of continuity, which is of different kinds. There is continuity of time, continuity of space, continuity of action, so on and so forth. So let's look at each of these one by one. What is continuity of time? Now, as you know that when you shoot a sequence, you may not always have the luxury of shooting it in the time that it is supposed to be shot as per the story. So you might have to shoot a day scene in the night and vice versa, a night scene during the day. So in such situations, sometimes you might shoot some portions of that sequence in an actual daylight and some portions of that sequence in the night time. So to maintain, so the viewer should not feel that the jerk when they're seeing one portion of it during the day and one portion in the night. So to maintain this continuity from day to day, you have to employ techniques by which there are some shooting techniques we use to maintain this continuity of to create an illusion of this portion also having been shot in the daytime. So you use artificial lights, etc., etc., and in that way you can match this discontinuity of time zones. Similarly, continuity of space. So when you're cutting from, say, one space to another, you are maintaining the same, suppose it's when you were shooting this one sequence and there were two objects in the background, and you come the other day and suddenly you start shooting and you realize that one of the objects is missing. So when you will start putting these two shots together on the editing table, the viewer will suddenly see that, hey, in this shot there are two objects, and suddenly, hey, where is this object gone? So that will for a moment create this jerk and this disturbance in the viewer's mind. So his attention will divert from the story to these kind of, so these function more as distractors. So hence we have to make sure that we maintain this continuity. Similarly, actions. Now, continuity of action is very important. So, generally, suppose if there's a long shot and I'm trying to slap somebody, now you might want to start the action of slapping in the long shot. You have raised your hand, but you want to really establish the impact of that slap on the person's face. So when you're cutting to a close of, when you're cutting to another shot of just the man's face being seen and the hand is hitting his face, if you do not have the continuity of action maintained while shooting this other shot, there might be a jerk. So for example, in the long shot, I just take my hand and I slap this person, and when I'm taking this particular shot, I directly have him slapped, like this, there will be some piece of action that is missing. So during the edit, I won't get the correct match from this long shot to this close shot. Right now, don't get confused with wide shot and close shots. We'll cover that in subsequent lessons. But what right now you need to understand is there has to be a continuity of action that's maintained, switching from one shot to another. So to avoid these kind of issues, what we typically do is, even when you are doing a another shot, you repeat some portions of the action that you've already taken place in the previous shot. So for example, if I raise my hand this way, even when I'm taking the other shot, I again start from here. So during the edit, I get a matching point of the hand, so which sort of bridges this discontinuity between two shots, and it creates an illusion that you have switched from one shot to another shot, and hence the storytelling looks fluid and seamless. In this lesson, we are going to cover a very important concept that is related to the concept of continuity, and that is the line of axis. Now imagine the scene is about me having a conversation with someone. So I'm here and that person is here. So typically what happens is, when I want to show this person's reaction while I'm talking to him, we typically go over the shoulder. So if I want to see his face, so the camera will be here over my shoulder, through my shoulder I can see his face. Similarly, if that person, if you want to see me, from his point of view, then the camera will be on his shoulder seeing me. Now, when when you're cutting and switching between these two angles, one must remember that if the camera is on this shoulder, okay, and through this shoulder I'm seeing him, or maybe it's this shoulder I'm seeing him. So if this shoulder, if I choose this angle, so this is like my right shoulder. So if the camera is on my right shoulder, when I'm switching to his side, we should see to it that the camera is again on my left shoulder. So that person's left shoulder will match with my right shoulder. So what it basically means is, the moment, if this is my scene and these are my subjects of the scene, there is an imaginary line of axis that gets drawn between these two characters. So when I'm seeing this person from here, from the right hand side, that if the camera jumps and goes here, so for example, if the shot is from my right shoulder, and if suddenly the camera jumps and goes here, though my position has not changed, the perspective has definitely changed. So again it causes some sort of a disorientation in the viewer's mind as to what has happened. So the moment the perspective shifts, you'll see that the background shifts. So something that was on the left side of the camera suddenly appears on the right, and vice versa. So that again creates some kind of a disturbance or a disorientation. So this is an opposition of our concept of continuity, which we covered in our previous lecture. So to maintain this idea of continuity intact, we need to follow and be conscious of the concept of line of axis. Now you might wonder that is this only does this only apply when there are two people or three people? Only two people, or does it apply to three people? So I said yes, it applies to as many people there might be in the scene. So every time you are shooting more than two people, at a given point of time you always maintain the line of axis between the two characters between whom the action is taking place, because if all of them are having a conversation with this guy, then you see to it that you take these three as a unit, and there's a line of axis that's formed between this person and these three together. So similarly, if there is, now imagine a situation where there is only me, only one person on screen, then too there is a line of axis. So if your first shot, the camera is here, there is an imaginary line of axis between the camera and the character. So if the first shot is from here, see to it that when you're cutting to a close, you cut in the same line, you go from here to here. You do not move your camera from here to here, when you're cutting a close. So that will again create this disorientation. So this is the fundamental principle of the line of axis, which is very important in understanding continuity.